Good afternoon, and thank you for calling today for today's media teleconference regarding a Sunbelt announcement. Today we're joined with Mark Becker, the president of Georgia State University, who is also serving as the president of the Sunbelt Conference, and alongside him is Karl Benson, the commissioner of the Sunbelt Conference. We'll begin today's call with an opening statement from Dr. Becker, as well as a statement from Commissioner Benson, and then we'll do question and answer session. To get in the question and answer session queue at any time, hit *1. With that, Dr. Becker, please go ahead.
Thank you, John. And I'm certain everyone has seen the press release. As you know, Commissioner Karl Benson has informed the CEOs of his desire to step down at the end of his contract, June 30th, 2019. We're immensely proud of all that Karl has accomplished in his 6 years as leader, and we'll have another year to go. During those 6 years, the Sunbelt Conference has become a stronger, more competitive, better positioned conference, and really positioned for even greater success in the future. And so the member institutions, and particularly the CEOs, are very indebted to Karl on the great leadership that he has exhibited, and look forward to another great year as he moves on to a future chapter at the end of this year. Karl?
Thank you, President Becker. Appreciate your kind words, and thanks to everyone who has taken the time today to participate in this call. It has truly been a pleasure and an honor to work for the Sunbelt Conference these past 6 years. And as all of the accomplishments that have been noted in the last several days, I just want to make it very clear, these are not Karl Benson accomplishments, as it truly has been a team effort from presidents and chancellors, athletic directors, faculty reps, senior women administrators, especially our coaches and our student athletes, and a real tip of the cap to my staff at the Sunbelt, who have really worked their butts off these past 6 years so that these accomplishments are being talked about today. Over the past 20 hours or so now, I've read the following headlines: Benson to leave, Benson to vacate, Benson to step down, depart, retire, and yes, even in today's New Orleans Advertiser, Benson to quit. I know I will be asked what led me to make this decision and why now. So please bear with me while I'll give you a timeline that will show how this decision came down and how well thought out and planned. It was not a spur-of-the-moment decision, and it was done in total transparency with the Sunbelt presidents and chancellors. In the spring of 2012, when I signed my original contract with the Sunbelt, it was for 4 years through 2014. I was 60 years old, and I knew that this would be my final stop as a commissioner, and that it would more than likely be a 5 to 7 year commitment that would take me to age 65, 66, or 67, and I would return to Denver and figure out what was then next for me. And at that time, I set out to tackle the Sunbelt's first challenge of stabilizing its membership. In June of 2014, the presidents and chancellors were kind enough to extend my contract for 5 years through 2019. And at that time, I said to myself, this seems like the right period of time to be able to get the things done the Sunbelt needed to achieve. And I developed a 5-year plan that would position the Sunbelt to achieve its long-term goals of being the best of the Group of 5 conferences. In the spring of 2016, presidents and chancellors approached me about extending my contract beyond 2019. I informed them at that time that I believed that 2019 would be my end date, but that I would take it under consideration. And then, as many of you know, in October 2016, Sarah and I were married, a life-changing experience that I'm so grateful for, and it caused me to evaluate and reset my priorities. And that then pretty much cemented my plans for the 2019 departure. And I reiterated that to the Sunbelt presidents at that time. A year ago at this time, we began negotiations with ESPN. I was in New York City for a day-long meeting. I returned home, and I then went on a 14-day trip with Chancellor Jack Hawkins from Troy to Vietnam. I had the privilege of being the commencement speaker at 3 Troy commencements in Vietnam, one of the biggest thrills that I've ever had in my career. But on the flight over 20 hours and the flight back 20 hours, I had a lot of time to think about what the Sun Belt needed to do to get to the place so that in 2019 it would be positioned for greatness. We knew that ESPN was critical. We had the football championship game. We knew we needed to get to a neutral site for baseball. We know we needed to address the basketball scheduling and the tournament format. And we knew that the bowl game extension beyond the 2019 season needed to be completed. And I said to myself then that if all these could be accomplished by the end of 2019, then I could walk away knowing that the Sun Belt was in excellent shape for the next commissioner. And I then confirmed in fall of last year that the 18-19 would indeed be my final year. So today, this is how I would like my story to read. Now that the Sun Belt membership is stable and secure, and all the pieces are in place for long-term success, Benson has decided to step aside for the next commissioner to take the Sun Belt to even greater heights and to fulfill my goal of the Sun Belt being the highest-rated G5 conference, and to have the Sun Belt champion play in a New Year's Day game, and for our men's and women's basketball teams to play in the Sweet 16 of the NCAA tournament, and have a baseball and softball team play in the College World Series. All of these, which in my opinion are very realistic and achievable in the very near future. So now I look forward to and very excited about the upcoming football season, our inaugural football championship game on December 1st, yes, my 67th birthday, and to my final 6 or 8 or 10 months before the next commissioner of the Sun Belt is selected, and hoping that one or more of the above goals is achieved this season so that I can add one of those to my most memorable moments in the past 29 years as a commissioner. And for what is next, I will commute between New Orleans and Denver for the next whatever months, and Sarah and I have already moved into our, quote, forever home, 5 blocks from the University of Denver, 15-minute walk to the light rail station, another 10 minutes to downtown Denver for a game at Coors Field or Mile High Stadium, for a night out for dinner in the theater, for a concert at the Pepsi Center. I'm not anxious to use the word retirement label, but I will not be looking for work. But if it finds me and I can work out of my home in Denver, then I will certainly entertain perhaps continuing to work and not necessarily in the college sports environment. I've always valued and appreciated my relationships and friendships with members of the media and hope that I've been able to make your jobs a little bit easier from time to time. So with that, we'll open it up for questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Becker and Commissioner Benson. We do have several questions in the queue right now, and we're going to go ahead and go to the line of Tim Buckley from the Lafayette Daily Advertiser. Tim?
Hi, Carl. Good afternoon. I wanted to ask you first what you thought is the most, of all of the accomplishments that you mentioned, what will be the most impactful in the long term, kind of looking ahead maybe at the next 5-year plan for whoever the next commissioner is. And President Becker, if I could ask you, can you kind of lay out what the process is for the hiring of a new commissioner? And also in terms of timetable, will it be a situation where maybe you want to bring somebody in for a few months to work alongside Karl, or will it be somebody who starts fresh in July of next year?
Tim, I truly believe that the ESPN contract that we reached, the agreement we reached back in May, is the most critical and will be the most impactful. And it also had a big part to play in how I went about kind of determining, when my end date would be. As you know, the window for renegotiation would not have normally started until next winter or early spring. I went to executives of the ESPN once I decided what my end date would be, and and encouraged them to to start the negotiations early. I believe that it ended up benefiting the Sun Belt as well as ESPN, that we would do that, quote, under my watch and get it done. As it turned out, little did we know that we'd be the first conference, to come under the full all-in model that we did with ESPN. So I think that is in place. There's real money for the first time in Sun Belt history that we will be able to receive from our media rights contract, and our schools are preparing now for the production obligations that they've undertaken. But that I hope will be the long-lasting and greatest impact going forward.
Okay.
And President Becker?
Yes, sir. Tim, this is Mark Becker. So regarding process, the membership of the conference are engaging Parker Executive Search to help assist in building the candidate pool. We're not on a fixed timeline because the key is to build a strong candidate pool and then move forward with making the evaluations and making the hire. As for the timetable and the transition, it's premature to even think about that. First, we have to identify who it is we're going to hire. Every candidate has their own personal or unique situation, and so whether or not there's an overlap with Karl will be determined at a later date. But Karl's put us in a strong position. The conference is in a great position. We have an excellent staff there in New Orleans, so that's really not a concern to us at this point. It's really identifying the right person to build on all that Karl has accomplished for us.
Okay. Thank you both, and appreciate it, Karl.
And thank you, Tim. We're going to go ahead and go to the line of Brad Bobo from KNEA in Jonesboro. Brad, please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. Couple, Karl. Number one, do you feel like the rest of your contract here this academic year, is the sort of the restructuring of the bowl alignments going to fall in that time? You feel like it's something that will still be able to get done on your watch?
Absolutely. And, of all the items that I kind of listed there, Brad, the bowl extensions have not been completed yet. We've run into not just we, but all 10 FBS conferences have run into a little bit of a stall, so to speak. But we still hope that those extensions will get done this fall, and we'll have those in place. And again, my goal in general is to leave everything in order for the next commissioner, and that means that our bowl agreements are better business arrangements. They're better structured in terms of selections and how all that works, and that those will be in place for the next 6 years. And again, to kind of leave behind that foundation in place.
Then sort of a two-parter here. Out of the list of accomplishments and that are, it's long and just, is there one that maybe you take the most pride in? And then as you look forward, what do you feel like the biggest challenge facing the next commissioner might be?
What I was lucky enough to have was just absolutely great support with the presidents and chancellors from day one, and the ability that they gave me to bring some ideas and to formulate them and to finalize them. The membership piece, even though it took a little bit of a left turn with the Idaho and New Mexico State additions, when we added Idaho and New Mexico State, it was the right thing to do, and when we made the decision to not extend them, it was the right thing to do. As I mentioned last month in New Orleans for Football Media Day, that may have been the most difficult decision that I was part of, was to inform Idaho and New Mexico State. But the way that we've been able to put the 12 teams together, the regionality, I really enjoyed that process, and the end result, I think, is what's going to be the glue that allows the Sun Belt to continue. I've always said that we would know when the Sun Belt has arrived is if and when Conference USA called one of our schools and said, we'd like you to join this conference. And they would say, no thank you, we're very happy right where we are, and we're very satisfied and we have all we need. And I believe that's exactly where we are today.
And then just lastly, just kind of again, for whoever takes that spot next, what's their biggest challenge?
Again, the football CFP is in place for 6 years. I think that again, the scheduling models that we've created both on the football side and the men's basketball side to manage those football schedules to make sure that we don't backslide and that we continue to really value the significance of smart scheduling in both football and men's basketball. I think that this is going to be a highly sought-after position. I think that there will be current commissioners that will be interested in this job. There will be individuals from Power 5 conferences that will be interested in this job that may not have been the case 6 years ago, and that I think that there will also be some perhaps some non-traditional candidates. The profile of the Sun Belt has taken on a level of credibility and notoriety that I think will help in this search for sure.
Thank you, Karl.
Thank you, Brad. As a reminder to our members of the media, *1 to get in the queue to ask questions. Right now, we're going to go to the line of J.C. Cox from ESPN Jonesboro.
Hey, Commissioner Benson. For me, we've talked a lot about the accomplishments, but I've got a two-part question for you. First one being, what is your best moment?
Best moment in the 6 years? Probably two basketball games that I attended, the Georgia State NCAA tournament and RJ's shot at the buzzer, and then the win in Denver with the University of Arkansas Little Rock, sitting next to Chancellor then Joel Anderson, and being part of those two big wins for the Sun Belt. A lot of good wins on the football side, but those two basketball wins were probably the most. They probably got more play on SportsCenter than any of our other events.
Second part of that question for you would be, if you could write the storybook ending of Karl Benson as the commissioner of the Sun Belt, what would it be?
Standing on the sidelines January 1 of this year, either in one of those New Year's Day games. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, J.C. Right now we have Jay Walker from ESPN 1420 in Lafayette on the line. Jay, if you're ready, go ahead.
Karl, Brad Bobo brought up the contracts with the bowl partnerships to get those extended. Besides that, is there anything on the table that you think you might be able to go ahead and get accomplished in the brief time you have remaining as commissioner?
Jay, my plate's going to be full managing the bowl for the next several weeks, and hopefully it'll get done here this fall. The basketball scheduling format and the tournament is we move the tournament to the Pepsi Center, or not the Pepsi Center, to the Smoothie King Center in New Orleans. I think will be a task at hand. I guess the other thing that, and again, I've depended on my staff so much, and I've got so much confidence in them that I'm certain that that December 1 on whatever campus the football championship game is going to be played in is going to be a huge success. I will enjoy standing on the sidelines and watching, that opening kickoff for sure. But, again, some of the bigger NCAA issues that are still ongoing, whether it's the concussion awareness, it's the mental health summit symposium that we did a year ago. I know that this spring we're going to focus on a minority hiring symposium, and that I guess I would like to plant the seed for the Sun Belt and its member universities, going forward, that we pay attention to that important part of intercollegiate athletics, and how to get young African American male and female into the pipeline. So that is something that I will hope we can get off the ground.
Thank you very much, Jay. And that was the final question that we had in the queue today. I'd like to thank again Dr. Becker and Commissioner Benson for joining us. If you would like a copy of today's teleconference, it will be distributed on the Sunbelt Conference website, www.sunbeltsports.org. Thank you, everyone, today for your participation.